Hello everyone, guys, girls and non-binary pals. Welcome back to my really way too much detail roundup of not all the anime of winter 2020, but enough that it's probably unhealthy. My name is Sam Harkin, and this is part 2, so we're going to be dealing with kind of more middle of the road kind of anime, at least in terms of, my enthusiasm for them. So we're going to be starting off with Inspector. Now, I was a little bit nervous going into this one. It looked like a really cool idea. It's kind of supernatural mystery, featuring, a girl who's kind of like made a pact with, various ghosts and mythological creatures to kind of help them sort out their issues. And it's essentially like a supernatural mystery thing where she's teaming up with this seemingly average guy. But as we'll get into, not seemingly average, but, well, I mean, he is seemingly average, it's just he isn't average. I don't know how to talk. But I immediately started worrying because I was like, wait, this seems kind of similar to Copcraft, which out of the 4 anime that I covered in the winter section was the one that I dropped like immediately. But I watched the first episode and I'm happy to say that this is the first out of all these animes that I'm probably going to watch the second episode in. I don't know, like it's kind of interesting because it's still got this dynamic of like this little girl has, way more knowledge and information than this other guy. But firstly the dynamic's a little bit more interesting because the first one is just like, me, I'm like a powerful princess and you have to do what I say, which I found just kind of cloying, especially because there was no obvious reason. Like it was literally just like, I have status, you should respect me, and there's nothing interesting in that relationship in Copcraft. But in this one, like, I don't know, they do a really good job of setting up the characters. Like in this first episode, they've done a fairly good job of kind of going through the characters' backstories enough that we can, go forward with the TV show. But it didn't feel like, I mean, I guess it felt like it dominated the first episode, but it had enough interesting plot points that it makes me very interested. And I think also, probably way more important than that, and I think this is probably the best one so far in this field, it had a really interesting ending to the first episode, which makes me just instantly be like, okay, I want to know what is going on here, because as I said, they at the very end kind of are like, oh, this person's got a little bit more going on than was initially suggested, and that's what really makes me want to see the second episode. So the next anime that I'm talking about is Darwin's Game. Now I was very enthusiastic about this, but I was also kind of, like tempering that a little bit because I kind of looked at it and I was like, this is kind of Future Diary or Mirai Nikki, whichever you want to call it, because it's, like people fighting people and there's phones involved. So I was tempering my expectations a little bit, and I mean, I definitely still feel like those are pretty apt comparisons, especially given the way that it ended, with the main character getting, a girlfriend from this game. So for those of you who don't know what Mirai Nikki and Future Diary is, Darwin's Game is essentially a friend gets like a phone game request and he boots up this phone game and like a snake comes out of it and bites him, and basically he's now involved in kind of a in real life kind of battle game where people have to like kill each other within a certain time limit. Everybody also gets superpowers of some description. And I mean, they're also kind of interesting superpowers, like, like, I mean, you've got invisibility, but then you've got like controlling metal, and you've got, this guy at the start who's seemingly able to use like a box cutter to like shoot projectiles, and the main characters, later revealed to have the ability to kind of, create objects. So like he is like, oh gee, it would be great if I had a gun right now, and then he has a gun, and that's kind of interesting. Like I do love show, like, I love superhero stuff, just, well, I mean, they aren't superheroes, but they're just superpowered beings, but I love superpowers that are really off the wall, because it's, you know, then you have to kind of have characters that can be, like, creative with them, and that always interests me. I thought this was really cool, like, it's really crazy, it's, this is, I was gonna say it's very gory. It's fairly gory. However, despite the fact that this is on Anime Lab, which is a, you know, online anime thing, despite the fact that it is also rated MA15, they have really obvious gore censorship. So like there's one scene where like a guy is getting like his head chopped off, and just before, like, you know, the top half of his head like blows off and there's blood everywhere, there's just like a gradient, like a dark gradient that just appears on the screen, and I was just like, wow, that's not really subtle at all. I mean, you know, like, there's enough like crazy violence that, you know, I'm not like, oh, I wanted to see all the brains and bit. Like, I'm not, you know, someone who's just like, how dare they censor? But I mean, like, in a show where, you know, there's a guy in a panda suit who's just going around like stabbing people, like, it seems like it just feels like a really weird place to draw the line. Kind of the most egregious, obvious versions of censorship I've seen for quite a while. I mean, those are like only like, you know, like little tiny little bits like in the middle of the plot where that happens. Okay, so you know how this was supposed to be part 2, where it was supposed to be middle of the road? So far I'm loving all of these. Admittedly, with Somali and the Forest Spirit, which is the next one I'm talking about, I mean, I thought it would be good, but I was kind of like, maybe it might not, you know, be something that particularly applies to me personally. No, I really like this. Okay, first off, let's explain what the show is. The show is essentially a forest golem who, you know, is kind of, might as well be a robot for all intents and purposes, because, you know, he doesn't have emotions and stuff. Finds like a lost human child and basically adopts her. And it's not entirely clear like what the arc of this story is going to be. Like, presumably it's going to be like, I'm going to try and reunite her with her real family kind of thing, and then at the end, you know, it will be this big thing of like, no, but I want to stay with you, forest robot daddy. But for the moment, you know, there's kind of like a little bit of narrative that we're seeing here where we're talking about the fact that humans have been like chased out, and now, you know, they're basically not in this part of the world anymore, so they're going to have to, you know, hide the fact that she's a human. But I mean, like, it's really cute. Like, it reminds me a lot of how I was talking about how like Uchitama like is cute, but this is kind of more the kind of thing that I like, because like it is cute, but there's a lot more things going on. Like, there's this really hilarious and cute dynamic of, you know, this little girl who's just like, ooh, a cat, I'm gonna chase the cat, hi cat, kind of thing. And then you've just got this, you know, big, like, you know, like 4 times bigger than her kind of robot person who's like, I do not have emotions. And it's very cute because, you know, it's just like, you know, like, I will find an efficient way to keep you in line, hold my hand, kind of thing. And she's just like, oh my god. And she's like not even holding his hand, she's holding like one of his fingers. It's really cute. It's a really cute kind of complete difference between the characters that makes it interesting. You know, like, it makes it a lot more interesting than like Uchitama, where it's just like, I'm gonna do a cute thing now. You know, like the fact that there's like this other character who's completely a different person really sells the whole feel of it. I honestly love this show so much, and now once again there's another show that I'm going to have to put in. At this rate, I'm going to be watching like 8 shows this season, because like so many of them are just quality. So let's move on to the last one in this part. So I've watched the last one. I've done this all in one day also, which like I didn't really do before, so like this has been, you know, a wild little Wednesday. Final one, Keep your hands off Eizouken. I knew that this was kind of, like a bit of a meme, a bit of a joke, like everyone's, doing edits with various TikTok, whoever people like dancing to the theme tune, which I mean, it's a bloody great theme tune. It's a bloody great opener. And I thought, like this might be like a little bit fun, and I mean, it is. And I was pleasantly surprised by how much I liked this. It's essentially about a couple of people coming together to start an anime club where they're going to make an anime, which, like all of these really, this is not like, oh, this has never been done before. But I mean, like, this is like a bit more fun, a bit more youthful and stuff. One thing I really liked, and I hope is kind of like a recurring theme for every episode, is them creating like a fantasy world, and then like going through like all the meticulous details of what makes this fantasy world, and then kind of just like living in a version of that. Like in a couple of different circumstances, they have kind of this sketched out view of the world, and all the sounds are like them, just making sounds with their mouth, like or kind of like that kind of stuff. And that was just fun. Like it gave this really joyful kind of feel to a teenage daydreaming kind of anime some of the time, and I really hope we have a lot more of that going through the season, because it's just really fun and it's really uplifting, like them kind of like dealing with their problems by like making it into like this anime villain, and then tackling it with their fancy mechs and stuff that they've just kind of brought out of their brains into reality. It's cool. It's really cool. I'm looking like I'm on track to be watching like 8 anime this season, which is intimidating, but at the same time I'm interested in watching potentially 8 anime, because they're all really just really good. I mean, I imagine part of that is just because, like, as with, summer, mid-year, the start of the new year, like studios want to put out, like, some of their best stuff. And this is... I mean, I don't really follow, like, seasons specifically. I'm just kind of like, is that an anime I like? And based on what I've been seeing so far, like, this is one hell of a season. But that is not all, because and I'd suggest you subscribe and click the bell so you can get notified about this. I've got one more part to go of this winter 2020 wrap up, where we're going to be talking about the anime. Because here's the thing, these anime that I've been talking about today is just middle of the pile, because the next one is the stuff that I'm legitimately really hyped about, including 2 that I've been absolutely salivating over for like the past couple of months, and I'll finally be able to play them, and I'll finally be able to watch them, and I'll finally get a chance to talk about them with you. Yeah, stay tuned for that. Feel free to comment and tell me what you thought about any of these anime: Inspector, Darwin's Game, Somali and the Forest Spirit, and Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. Did you like them? Did you hate them? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you to tell me. And feel free to support us on Patreon. It helps the videos, it helps the podcasts, and I will see you all, or you will see me. It's all about semantics, isn't it? In the near future. See you.